Why the sons of Moses were erased from history. You know Moses parted the Red Sea, brought down the Ten Commandments, and led millions out of slavery. But can you name even one of his sons? No, that's not an accident. There's a reason they were deliberately erased from history, and what I'm about to reveal will change how you see the entire Bible. Every other biblical patriarch's children became famous. Abraham's son Isaac, Isaac's son Jacob. Jacob's 12 sons became entire tribes. But Moses, the most important leader in Israel's history, his sons vanish. And when you discover why, you'll never read Scripture the same way again. The mystery. Moses had two sons, Gershom and Eliezer. Gershom means stranger there, because Moses was a fugitive in a foreign land. Eliezer means God is my helper, because God saved Moses from Pharaoh's sword. These boys witnessed everything. They saw the burning bush, they lived through the plagues, they crossed the Red Sea, and then silence. They disappear from the story like they never existed. But here's the thing, this wasn't random. This was intentional, and I'm about to show you 4 reasons why God himself orchestrated their erasure from history. Reason 1. The priesthood conspiracy. Reason number 1 is going to shock you. The priesthood didn't go to Moses' family. It went to his brother Aaron. And this decision changed everything. In ancient Israel, your legacy was tied to your religious function. If you weren't a priest, a tribal leader, or a judge, you weren't remembered. Aaron became high priest, and his sons inherited this role forever. Their names are everywhere: Eleazar, Ithamar, Phinehas. Even today, people with the last name Cohen trace their lineage back to Aaron. But here's what most people don't know. Moses actually expected the priesthood to go to his sons. The Talmud reveals that Moses assumed he would start the priestly line. But when God chose Aaron instead, Moses had to make a choice: rebel or submit. He submitted without complaint. And if you think that's surprising, wait until you hear reason number 2, because it gets even stranger. But first, quick question. Are you subscribed yet? If not, hit that button now so you don't miss the shocking conclusion. Reason 2. The missing sons. Reason number 2. Moses' sons were raised outside of Israel, and they never fully integrated into the community. Listen to this carefully. Gershom and Eliezer grew up in Midian, far from the Israelites. They were raised by their mother Zipporah, a Midianite, while Moses was shepherding in the wilderness. By the time Moses returned to Egypt to free his people, his sons were practically foreigners to their own heritage. There's even a bizarre passage in Exodus 4 where God tries to kill Moses because one of his sons wasn't circumcised. Think about that. The future liberator of Israel almost died because his son wasn't part of the covenant. Zipporah had to quickly circumcise the boy herself to save Moses' life. After that, Moses sent his wife and sons back to Midian. They missed the entire Egyptian liberation. They weren't there for the plagues. They didn't see Pharaoh's army drown. They showed up later, after the Red Sea crossing, brought by Jethro. And here's what's haunting. After Mount Sinai, Moses' sons are never mentioned again in the entire narrative. Not during the golden calf incident, not during the wilderness wanderings, not when Moses appoints the 70 elders. They're ghosts in their father's story. Reason 3. The anti-dynasty design. Which brings us to reason number 3, and this is where it all makes sense. God was preventing a dynasty. Here's the truth most pastors won't tell you. If Moses had passed his authority to his sons, the Israelites would have worshipped Moses' family instead of God. They would have created a cult around Moses' bloodline. God was protecting Israel from idolatry by erasing Moses' sons from power. Think about it. The Israelites already tried to worship a golden calf while Moses was on the mountain. They constantly complained and rebelled. If they had a Moses dynasty to rally around, they would have turned Moses' descendants into gods. And we see this pattern throughout Scripture. Samuel was a great prophet, but his sons were corrupt and couldn't succeed him. Eli was high priest, but his sons were wicked, and God removed them. Even King David's son Solomon, despite all his wisdom, led Israel into idolatry. The message is clear. Human dynasties always fail. God's calling is what matters, not your last name. But if you think the story ends there, you're wrong. Drop a comment right now with the word "revealed" if you're still watching, because reason number 4 is going to blow your mind. Reason 4. The hidden servants. Reason number 4. Moses' descendants didn't disappear. They just served in secret. 1 Chronicles reveals that Gershom's descendants became temple treasurers and administrators. They managed the sacred resources, the gold, the silver, and the holy objects. While Aaron's descendants wore the fancy priestly garments and performed sacrifices in public, Moses' descendants worked behind the scenes. A man named Shebuel, Gershom's descendant, is specifically named as officer over the treasuries. These weren't glamorous positions. Nobody remembers the temple accountants, but they were essential. Without them, the entire temple system would have collapsed. Here's what's beautiful about this. The sons of the most famous leader in Israel's history chose humble service over seeking glory. They could have demanded recognition. They could have rebelled. Instead, they faithfully managed the resources that made worship possible. The revelation. So why were the sons of Moses erased from history? Because God was teaching the most important lesson in all of Scripture. Significance isn't measured by fame. It's measured by faithfulness. Moses' sons were prevented from becoming a dynasty, so Israel would remember that leadership isn't hereditary. It's a calling from God. The priesthood went to Aaron to separate spiritual office from prophetic authority. And Moses' descendants served quietly because true greatness often happens in the shadows, unseen and unremembered by history. Their erasure wasn't a punishment. It was a protection. Protection for Israel against idolatry. Protection for Moses' legacy. And protection for anyone who thinks God's favor is about bloodline rather than obedience. If this opened your eyes to something you've never seen before, hit that like button and subscribe, because I'm uncovering biblical mysteries every single week that your pastor probably won't teach you. Drop a comment telling me what hidden biblical story you want me to investigate next. And if you want to go even deeper, check out the video I'm putting in the description about the forgotten daughter of Moses that almost nobody knows existed. I'll see you in the next one.